we're going to dig into a more complicated matrix multiplication problem. If you look closely, you will see that these matrices are no longer square matrices. They're both kind of like rectangles, and one seems to be on its side and one seems to be vertical. Seems weird, but it actually will work out just the way we planned for it to if you follow the same process we did a moment ago. If you're confident in that, you should pause this and do this on your own. If you're not, I'm going to give you a tip about how to get started. So, the first thing that I notice is that this is the same as before, responsible for the rows. And this, the same as before, is responsible for the columns. So what that means is you can already know how many rows and columns your final product will have because it will have this many rows and it will have this many columns. So my final product looks like it's going to have 2 rows and 2 columns, which means I'm going to draw it big so that I have enough room to work, but I'm still working with essentially the exact same thing I was before, a 2 by 2 matrix. To do the same thing that I did a moment ago, I'm going to keep track of what I've done and what I haven't done. So row 1, column 1, row 1, column 2, row 2, column 1, row 2, column 2. So to figure out what goes in this top left space, I am going to use row 1 and column 1. That is this row right here and this column right here. So it's going to be the product of each pair along the way. In other words, 0 times 1, which is 0, plus 0 times negative 2, which is 0, plus negative 2 times 0, which is 0. That was an easy cell to fill. This one is still row 1, but now we're dealing with column 2, so I'm going to mark that on my paper so I don't get distracted. And then, so I'll take these same things. 1 times 3 is going to be 3, plus 0 times negative 1 is going to be 0, plus negative 2 times 4 is going to be negative 8. And I think I'm going to go ahead and start my final finished matrix down here. So 0 plus 0 plus 0 is 0, 3 plus 0 minus 8 is negative 5. I think that's true, double check me, vote this video down if it's not. Then I'm down to row 2, column 1. So row 2, column 1. Same process. 0 times 0 is 0. 3 times negative 2, 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. And negative 1 times 0 is 0. 0 minus minus 6 plus 0 gives me a negative 6 down here. And last but not least, row 2, column 2. Row 2, column 2 will be defined this term times this one, which is a 0, 3 times negative 1, which is a negative 3, and negative 1 times 4, which is a negative 4. Negative 3 minus 4 is a negative 7. So usually where people mess up on this is just like forgetting where they get their rows and columns from. But once you like set those things straight, and I like still to this day cannot do matrix multiplication without writing down like the grid of where my answers will go, row 1, column 1, row 2, column 2, all that stuff. But once I've got that done, I rarely make mistakes because I've like got such a clear structure in my head about where everything is going to go.